this isn't a natural stone formation. Somebody, somehow, built this thing.
Welcome back to the Titanium Hangar. This is Mike. Today I want to talk to you about the Rhino Warrior Guardian of Mankind, RW-01. This is the KO Oversized of the Kingdom version of Rhinox from the Hasbro one. And this is bigger. How much bigger? We're going to see here in a bit. But I did get this. It shows you. I'll have a link down below where you can get yours. But for 30 bucks, excellent value. We're going to take a look at this guy and all of the differences and changes and what stays the same coming up. The box, and what shocked me about the box was just how big it was, which of course this figure's big. And is it a masterpiece representation? We're gonna find out. It's huge. All right, so here is Rhinox in a sort of upscaled, about a masterpiece scale, maybe a little small for masterpiece, but still Beast Wars runs a little small in masterpiece anyway. So looking at him, he is different with this nice goldish brownish look to him, which looks a lot more like the cartoon. And in the cartoon, all this stuff kind of glistened a bit, so it kind of captures that cartoon glisten that they had, which is really nice. Even though, like when they went to Vac Metal, they were really shiny. This isn't super shiny. This has got nice little middle ground between flat matte and shiny. It's kind of got a little bit of a glisten to it, so I kind of like that. And overall, the design of this it has its pluses and minuses, its good and its bad points. But of course, they didn't design it; they just oversized it. But when I'm looking at this, the one thing I don't like the lower legs, and I'm not sure about how they did the weapons. But everything else on it just looks really fantastic. Especially like that head sculpt of his, that looks really nice, and the green and the goldish look to it, that looks really good. The chest piece seems to work very well as a faux lower jaw or something that works too. So yeah, a lot of good stuff going on here with this figure, with the look, and it still shocks me this thing only cost 30 bucks. So 30 bucks shipped, and that is shocking that it is so big and looks this good and for that price. But let's go ahead and get into accessories. He has two of these weapons that come with him, and this one rotates and it's bigger, and I believe this is this the one that's packed in? I don't really know. I don't know which one's packed in with the original. I can't find my original. It's still in the box somewhere. I looked for like 20 minutes, so somewhere it's around here. But there's a smaller one and a bigger one, so I don't know which one was the official and which one is just oversized. But I think that it really needs a happy medium, because I've got one of each on him, and this seems too small. And then this one seems way too big. And if you try to have him hold it with his elbow joints just not tight enough. Is there a screw? I might be able to tighten that screw real quick. So I tightened this screw right here, and now it is holding. So if you want to use the big ones, it'll hold, but you might have to tighten that screw periodically to keep him holding it. So that's pretty good right there. But this one does spin, and I didn't get this one to spin at all. So I don't know what's going on, if the small ones are supposed to spin and mine just don't, or I don't know. But I'm not going to spin them anyway. I'm just display anyway. But I think that one in the middle size between the two would have been better. So let's look at each setup. Here he is with his small ones, and yeah, a little underwhelming. And here he is with his cannons. That's probably the wrong character. So yeah, I had to tighten the screw on this elbow too. So that was at first out the box kind of a problem for me, but I guess it's pretty easily fixed with just some tightening of a screw. And there he is with the big ones. So I think the big ones do look the best on display. So if you're going to display them, probably the big ones. So getting into articulation, head side to side, it can go up, not really any down. And then shoulder goes out pretty decent amount right there. And you've got a butterfly, which is pretty cool. And then of course the 360 on the shoulder. And you got a backwards butterfly too. So a lot of stuff going on right there. Then let's see here. We have the bicep swivel. We have what looks like a double joint, but it's not. It has to do with transformation. And then the hand can do some up and down, and no side to side. No side to side. We got waist swivel, no ab crunch, and then leg articulation. A lot of kibble holding it up from going too far out to the side. You can go that far forward, about that far to the back. That much knee rotation going on, and then thigh swivel, and then up, down, and you've got some ankle movement in it. So this is all engineered by, of course, good old Hasbro, or no, Takara actually. This is Takara. So everyone says Takara's making a masterpiece version of Rhinox. This might be it. For comparison, I do want to point out all my moving around of him. Somehow I bumped the head up, so part of it, his head's been up. The head does go down further in the back like so. And so now let's get into a few different comparisons here. So here we got Dinobot, we have Optimal Optimus, and that's how that scales. I think that's a pretty good scale. I think a true masterpiece would be just a tad bit bigger than Dinobot. So it falls a little short of what I think the size of a masterpiece Rhinox would be. So I think maybe another full inch and he'd be there. So with that though, it works. It's a nice stand-in. Here he's next to Toys Mage Megatron. So this is the Takara, the KO of the Takara masterpiece Megatron. And that's how he looks in scale. I'm not transfer flipping this guy around a lot. I don't want to break him, and it takes a long time to line these panels up too. Here is next to the 30th anniversary, or the Thrilling 30, or the Generations version of Rhinox, and the box probably isn't even the best there. So as you can see, he's way bigger. Obviously, he's probably got a good 1.5 inch elevation, and this one blows that one away. I think that the Kingdom one's about the same size as that. Kingdom one's kind of grayish looking too. So I think the color is more accurate on this one to the show and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, just kind of give you an idea of where we've come from, where we were, and now where we are going. And a KO MP44 right there next to him, looking pretty good. And that's size comparison wise. This is kind of a measuring stick or a ruler to measure everything. Let's get this guy transformed up a bit. So a couple things to start out. Of course, first off, I do have battle damage from fixing something. I drilled through my hand. A lot of fun. All right, fold that up. And this in here. Get the legs ready to go. Folding away the hands seems to always be the first step in almost every transformation that we do. And oddly enough, this is pretty complex for a mainline figure, you know. It's got some interesting complexity to it. All right, we're going to fold these shoulders down and this up on both sides. So we can get that head in there. See, I went off camera a bit. But we are going to get this in there. These pieces need to go in so this can come down over it. And then, well, before we even get into that, we need to tuck this away. And then push these down. But there we go with the front end. Looking like the front end, more or less. And then coming around to the back of this, all this fun stuff. We are going to perform some surgery on these legs. So there's a lot going on with these legs. Coming around to the front, we're going to start by opening this flap, and then it's going to free us up to come back here, move this I guess we're going to fold the knee down so we can pull this up, and then we got to fold this out and then fold this out, and then the leg comes out and then flips around. It's just some strange stuff that it's got going on there. And then we are going to fold in the foot. And notch it in right there like so. So this looks like a big mess right now. Then we're going to fold it over on himself. And okay, so while you're folding it over, you're tucking in the foot underneath his back. And then this thing has to be out. This is on a hinge. So let's see here. Fold that there. This hinge is into here. All elegant like. That's anything but elegant. And so we're pretty close on this side to make all that line up. And then I guess we need to make sure that this hinge is out a little bit better before we go further with the next one. But okay, so this is going to move around into place. And we're going to leave this back piece open. Now that we're lower, I think I'm going off camera here. I might cut all that out if it went off camera, but okay, so we're going to open this up and then fold this out and around. So tail, and I've got some things to say about the faux tail that they got going on there. And then fold this back, this knee back, fold this up, pull this out, flip it around, and then tuck in the foot to there. And make sure that we got this lower piece. So this lower piece probably should have been put into place earlier by moi. And we're going to be putting this, taking all this around as you tuck it underneath here, and then starting to line all that. This comes around like so. When we plug all this in, and we have to plug this into this and clean all that up. So plug it in, plug it in, plug it in. See, I don't understand. I had this plugged in before, and it just, as you're transforming it, misaligns and pops out and stuff. It's just how it does. And then we're going to close this bad boy up, but we are going to go around and tab it all in all these different places. Tab the top together, and then go back and clean this up. And well, you know, it's pretty decent engineering if at the end you can just go around and clean it up and everything kind of cleans up into its spot that it belongs, and you have yourself a Rhinox with stubby tail Rhinox. Let's take a look at this guy. So that is a bit of a complex transformation for a mainline, and it's impressive. It's impressive that they engineered that much into it, and yet still has ginormous shin syndrome going on with all that engineering they got in there. So I'm impressed that they didn't make the leg look a little smaller with that. But anyway, so getting into this, he looks fantastic in his Rhino mode. Really, the only complaints are so super minor, like the green sticking out here and here. I'm not sure why they went with a green tail, and the fact that you don't have an actual tail, it's just a molded in tail. But those are super minor complaints that I really don't think I'd be making very often. I wouldn't really care so much. I think that overall it's really clean. It's got a pretty nice shell to it. It's not really a shell former, but it is in a way. But yeah, the engineering's come a long way since the early days, and so I think it looked pretty good. Pretty good. Now, here it is from the bottom. Here is the horns that are rubbery, and they look to be a different color. You can see his eyes that are painted in there. He has a pin right there that's exposed. You can kind of see an opening slit right there. The back of the forearms are on the back of the legs, but these lower legs in the rear, those look pretty good. They stay pretty solid. Everything's tabbed in relatively well, so it's just a nice clean seam lines, and it holds together. So I mean, a lot of really good stuff going on here with this figure. And articulation wise, you still have a little articulation in the head, and you've got a little bit going on with his shoulder met right there. So they do have some articulation. You can move these just a little bit So, but that's really it. That's the limited articulation. And what more is a Rhino going to do? All right, so here is a comparison to pretty much everything, most of the stuff I display in my display with Beast Wars. And I'm going to combine this with my outro. So I think it's a great figure. It looks good. The minor downfalls, like the weak elbows, were easily fixed with tightening a screw. I don't like the lower front part of the legs being so huge. I wish that was a little bit smaller. Wish they would have re-engineered that or engineered that better from the get-go. But really minor complaints for a $30 figure. This is a stand-in, and even if 2 years from now Takara puts the Masterpiece one out, I won't feel like I wasted my money on this. This was an excellent stand-in, and if they never put the Masterpiece out, I have this, and it's close enough for me for my display in Beast Wars. So I did get this to shows you. I'm gonna have a link down below where you can get yours before they sell out. I'm kind of getting tired of putting these links up and they sell out a day or two later. It's kind of funny, but anyway, let me know what you think in your comments below. Like and subscribe to Deer Hanger out.
Flyers incoming. Looked kinda like a signal. But to who? We found you dumped in front of the command base hatch. Scrapped down and alone.
He vanished.
Wait a minute. Why was he transforming?